You know, I should probably change that intro.
Really, I like that intro.
Well, no, it's the I I swear the title was different, and I just
Ah,
didn't notice it until now. And I'm like,
mm.
oh, that's the intro for my tarot videos. Great, okay.
I,
But
I mean,
I was thinking about it anyway, like doing a different intro uh, to kind of differentiate these live streams from the tarot videos or from the tabletop talk videos that I do. But yeah, it's just something I kind of thought about doing, but um, still want to use Dark Runes music because that shit's amazing.
well, I still treat it like it's a polite tea gathering in the morning. I got my breakfast here. Since I'm out of salted caramel hot chocolate, I got my coffee. And since we're talking about it, let me show you my coffee cup today.
Yeah, let's see that.
I have a profusion of interesting cups.
Ah, the skull of your enemy.
Indeed. My mother expressly got it for me and was like, now you can drink coffee out of the blood of your enemies. It's like,
Uh-huh.
oh, Mom, you're so wonderful.
It's like that's great. Oh man. By the way, for I know not many people have probably caught it. I've only mentioned it in a couple videos. For anyone who is engaging in thoughts and prayers for my dad, know one thing: I deeply appreciate it. For those of you who don't know, this week, like I am going to just do this podcast, and I'm off the computer. I'll probably be keeping touch over the phone the rest of the day, but this past week, my dad had been seeing a doctor for an inhaler. You know, I mean, the guy's smoked off and on pretty much my entire life. So I'm pretty sure before that too. He's in his 70s. Um, they checked his blood pressure. It was kind of high. He's never had high blood pressure in his life, which is really strange. But one thing kind of led to another. He ended up in an ER having all sorts of tests run on him, and they found several blockages in his arteries.
Mm.
They're talking triple bypass. And I'm like, uh-oh. I did talk to him. He is still the same old dad.
Yeah, I am not gonna diminish the severity of that situation, but I will say at least it's a triple bypass, which is like a pretty conventional procedure. You know,
Yeah.
they've had lots of practice at it. When my father passed, he passed within 6 months of a cancer uh, diagnosis, and they were very positive. They were like, "We got it early. We're gonna fight it. You're gonna do fine." No, it was aggressive. It consumed him from without. And my mom and I couldn't go to the hospital to be with him when he was taken off the machines because of COVID, because the
Yeah.
hospitals were sickness factories. And even if I had been fine, mom couldn't go because she was an elderly person, and I was her primary care person. I couldn't go because I couldn't risk going, picking something up, and bringing it home.
Yeah.
So you know, at least you can like visit your dad. You can be there for him. You can give that support. You know.
But he's 1,300 miles away. It's kind of a hike.
Oh,
Yeah.
and
Uh, like I said,
if
I moved
somebody
up here from the south. So
right,
there's, you know, right now, going back is not exactly something I'm able to do,
well,
you know, but the thing is, I've been keeping in touch with them. You know, my mom's been
right,
keeping me up to date. Everything's been, you know, mom, of course, kind of scared the shit out of me last night while I'm at work. She sent me a text message saying, you know, ever since they told us what we're up against, I kind of panicked at first, and I'm like, did something new happen? Oh crap! And you know, immediately I'm like running up to my manager, like almost running past her, going, "Hey,
right,
I've got to make a call. You know, it might be something with my dad," which everybody at work knows, and they're like,
right.
"Oh yeah, yeah, do what you need to do." And it was my mom was trying to tell me the detailed story from start to finish, and I'm like, I can't, you know, right now I got a lot of work to do. If there's nothing new happening, okay. And then the call dropped because her battery died, and I was like, oh.
Damn it.
Damn cell phone batteries. But
This
yeah,
is
anyway, just kind of like long story short, it's looking like triple bypass. He, of course, when I talked to him, he was like, within 5 years of these triple bypasses, quality of life goes to hell. And I'm like, yeah, but if you're taking care of yourself, it's not really that. The reduction is hardly there. If you're really taking care of yourself, you're doing what you need to do. It's not the end of the world. But I know my dad, and he's an avid outdoorsman. He's the kind of guy that he likes to go hunting. He loves to go fishing. That's his jam. And not being able to do that would or limiting it to such a degree that it really wouldn't be worth it is going to be it's gonna suck for him. This would be like, I don't know, this would be like kind of like if Watsy's original plan were to go through, which that would suck for a lot of us. It really would, because any of us who created stuff now faces, we have to learn an entirely new system for which to create. We have to come up with our own.
Wait a minute. Does that mean that Watsy's most recent action is their triple bypass?
They're not out of the woods yet. They're not.
No, they are not.
But I will say this much. That was one thing I did want to cover today, and didn't mean to segue it from my dad into this. But yeah, I just wanted to thank everyone for their positive vibes, good juju, whatever it is you do. We really appreciate it. But I wanted to share this because this is one of the things that people have been talking about, especially since 4 p.m. Eastern, I think, yesterday. I don't know. I got it. I was literally at work and I just stumbled across it. And I was like, whoa, there's something new. Let's have a peek at this.
Well, you know me. Just real quick. Our path, our shared religious interest, does not go in for a lot of prayer and a lot of wishful thinking and a lot of God, if you do me a solid, I'll be extra good this year, I promise.
Yeah.
But there is a great weight on the idea of leaving a good legacy, right? Being remembered well. One of the things my mom told me about when she was a young person was she used to get it in the neck from other feminists. And that's right, my mom was a feminist back when that mattered. Because they were like, well, you've got to be a career woman. You've got to go on. You've got to do all of the empowered woman stuff. Why are you marrying a man? Why are you having a child? Why are you getting out of the workforce? Right? And her argument was that she was creating a child. She was shaping a human life that was going to influence the way the rest of the world works. That is by far the most powerful thing a human being can do. Right?
Right.
So, in the unlikely and unfortunate event that this takes a turn, right? And as you say, your dad is strong. Your dad is a fighter. He's not ready to go yet, kind of guy. But in that advent, right? Not only do the people who directly know him, like yourself, have good memories and will make his legend mild, right? But all the people who know you will think well of him because he was instrumental in your formation. You are what your parents have made you. So anyone who likes you, by extension, likes them. He's not a person that's going to go with like 3 people in a potter's field.
Yeah, that's very true, and thank you for that. But with that being said, thank you all for any continued good vibes, prayers, and all that. I really appreciate it. Let's get to this. There are 2 sentiments here. One of them, and I happen to agree with Bill Sylvie on this one, over at the Dungeon Delver channel. If you haven't subscribed to him yet, you really should. He's got good content. It's more than just this recent news. I came for the recent news. I stayed for the the AD&D First Edition play and the Gamma World, because I find it fascinating. And not only that, but you're watching how it used to be and why it was that way.
Stayed for the after party.
Stayed for the after party. That's right. The after party was there before. Actually, I stayed. I stayed for the party. The party is pretty awesome, in my opinion. But it says, over the past few weeks, the community have made your voices heard, and we've listened. OGL 1.0A will remain untouched, and the entire SRD 5.1 is now available under a Creative Commons license, and it's a thread. But instead, I would just rather go to this here. This is where it gets really interesting. And by really interesting, I mean super interesting. So I'm going to stop sharing that. I'm going to start sharing this other one. Share this one, because holy crap, it's a big one. When I read this, I was like, you got to be kidding me. Here it is. Now, I'm going to say this. This is from Kyle Brink. This was almost 24 hours ago. So in like 3 more hours, it would have been 24 hours. And yesterday, it said, when you give us playtest feedback, we take it seriously. Already more than 15,000 of you have filled out the survey. Let me pause right there to say that it was 40,000 plus cancellations, right? Of D&D Beyond. Then there were I don't know how many thousands of signatures to the petitions there were, and there were like 3 of them. Two actual petitions, one by Ryan Dancy, one by Grim Jim, and then there was the open D&D open letter, which also had many thousands of signatures. So I'm thinking this is where they start backing off. Is it over 15,000, give or take, of us that filled out that survey? And here's what they found out.
As we dig into this real quick, can I just comment on an interesting permutation of language?
Yeah.
You're going to go through the individual points for who cares, but I like the idea that, quote, 90% would like to change some aspect of their business to accommodate OGL 1.2. Not 90% would like to see this changed. 90% would like to continue to work with our bad idea if they get to alter it a little bit. That's not what we said.
No, it's not. But anyway, it said 88% do not want to publish TTRPG content under OGL 1.2. Now think of this. 88% of people said no way, because, and I want to, like, personally, just that little idealist part of me would like to think that it was because of that morality clause, which, let me tell you something. For anyone who goes, oh, it's fine, just don't publish bigoted content, you're missing the fucking point. You're missing it altogether. You're being very short-sighted and myopic. What's going on with that is that there were also clauses in there that clearly stated they could revoke the entire license for any reason. Like, if they found something that just wasn't in there, they could just revoke the whole license. That license wasn't irrevocable. They literally changed that definition to mean what they wanted it to mean. What the morality clause did was it opened a door for them. And under that OGL 1.2, what they could do is, let's just say that you publish something that you've gone over with a fine-tooth comb, your team's gone over with a fine-tooth comb, and you said, here we go, we've got it. This in no way violates the OGL 1.2. You release it 6 months later. A few of the sensitivity readers over at Wizards get wind of it because it's outperforming, one of theirs. They go over it with a fine-tooth comb, and they find out that in the mix of this whole thing, you use the term race rather than the term species. Well, now they can revoke your license. They can make you pulp every book you have in stock, if you have any. They can make you take the PDF down. You will get absolutely no sales. You are under some kind of injunctive relief for them, and then they can wait a few months or so, take your idea, completely release it as their own. And guess what? We were working on that thing for like 6 months, and all they got to do is backdate the notes. And even if you can prove that they directly stole your idea and destroyed your business, even if you could prove it, you would have to go to Washington to do it because they're going to try this in their backyard. And then they still won't stop. They'll just give you some money, tell you to fuck off, and that's it.
Oh, no, they won't. It's actually extra hilarious. Remember, if you sue them, right, and you take it to court, right, the court will hear it. You have to pay their court fees, even if you win, right?
Yeah.
If you do something and you get sued, not only can they decide to help out the opposition with all their money and their high-priced lawyers, but if they decide that you are not serving their interests by promoting and protecting your property well enough, they can invite themselves to overtake your legal process at your expense.
That's it.
And as you kind of said, but I want to be extra super clear on this, it cuts both ways. So if you're somebody like me who's working with the Red Room and you like your edgy content, and they decide you're not allowed to do that, they can stop you. Okay. But if you're somebody who likes your fluffy content, if you are super woke and you're on the stack and you do all the right things because society says you got to be politically correct, and you start making way more money than WotC, and they're like, well, we don't like the idea of competition, they can shut you down.
Yeah, and here's remember, guys, and even those who, you got pronouns in your bios or whatever, it doesn't matter. I need you to just perk up and listen, even if you're watching this in replay. The goalposts are always moving. And once the goalposts always move, that puts you in danger as well. So you could write something for like an extra supplement for Radiant Citadel, and once those goalposts move, you're in danger. Now, of course, that depends on whether Wizards of the Coast wants to enforce it or not. Now, that's under the OGL 1.2 and 1.1. We're not going to have that anymore. Thank goodness for that. But I want to say that this kind of leads us into that other camp of people who said, don't trust them just yet. You better wait till it's written in stone. And I got to say this, for the people flocking back to WotC, and we're seeing we do see the people that are flocking back to them. By the way, good morning, everyone who's just joining us. Thank you for coming. The thing is, once you have those ever moving goalposts, it puts you in danger. If you're outperforming them, they take you out. If just a couple of paragraphs or maybe even a line, maybe even just a word happens to be there and they deem it problematic, guess what? You have no recourse. And the only recourse you have will cost you far more than you're ever going to get. They knew that having that kind of legal paperwork, they could get away with that. And now they could be TSR from the 1980s and 90s, where they were, suing anyone making and publishing supplements that were compatible with Dungeons and Dragons or something like that. Even though it was people were making content then and publishing it just using the rules. But the thing is, it was the artistic expression of those rules. That's why they were saying these are copyrighted. You can't use them, and that's why they were going after these people. And most of them couldn't afford to battle Wizards, or battle TSR rather. So they were shutting down, and that was under the direction of Lorraine Williams during the time of second edition. Here's the kicker, though. And I really want people to pay attention to this. At that time, TSR had more than just Dungeons and Dragons. Dungeons and Dragons was their flagship. They had Star Frontiers. They had Indiana Jones. They had a ton of like licensed properties.
You were just talking about it. Memory Alpha and Gamma World.
and Gamma World. Memory Alpha, Gamma World. There was also Metamorphosis Alpha.
Yeah,
Wait,
that was what I
we're
meant.
talking about the same thing, aren't we?
Yeah,
Metamorphosis Alpha. Yeah, they had
memory
Metamorphosis.
memory alpha is the Star Trek thing. Sorry.
Right, right. Okay. So there were all of these things that they were doing. They had a lot of different properties. They had a lot of different things going on. But D&D was their focus because D&D was their flagship. In fact, the Basic Expert D&D was actually their flagship. It wasn't AD&D First Edition. AD&D First Edition kind of appealed to a different crowd because you started with Basic and Expert or BECME, and then you kind of moved into AD&D. That's kind of how they did it. But let's see. I gotta see this. I just saw a parody vid by DM's Lair. Another link to it. Very funny. I think that was. I did see a parody video last night where it was some lady, and she was engaging in a lot of corporate double speak, and then she had the player's handbook in her hand. She goes, "This is the game." Nerd shit. And she just like threw it behind her. She was pretending to be like a WotC employee. I thought it was kind of funny personally, but 88%. That's amazing. And that's just the first point. 88% did not want to publish content under OGL 1.2. Who could blame them? Well, 90% would have to change some aspect of their business to accommodate. We're not talking just the mom and pop shops online. We're talking, your friendly local gaming store would probably have to change some aspect of their business, which would negatively impact their customers. They're not going to stand for that. 89% are dissatisfied with deauthorizing OGL 1.0a. I think the number was probably a little bit higher, but I'm not going to fuss. That's still a great majority. 86% are dissatisfied with the draft VTT policy. No shit. 62% are satisfied with including system reference document content in Creative Commons. That's good. And the majority of those who were dissatisfied asked for more SRD content in Creative Commons. That is the biggest piece of news, which we'll get to in a second. But they said
before you move on, though, let's just address something that's interesting because I'm bad at math, but I know a couple of math things. If you round those percentages to the nearest decimal, right?
Yeah.
They're all 90%. The bell curve is so one-sided. It's not funny, right?
I don't think there's much of a bell here. It's more the scales are big tipped in our favor.
And only 70% of people were just like, well, we could be okay if it's in the Creative Commons if you just give us more content, right? So that's a C average versus an A average.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yep.
Nobody like this. Nobody like this at all.
Now, I'm going to say this. I've also seen, but keep in mind, they're very, very few. I've seen the odd post and here and there. Well, there's no reason to oppose OGL 1.2. I'm like, you haven't been paying attention. That's obvious. It's there. If you haven't been paying attention, you're about to get fucked on that deal. And we've covered that, just how negatively this could impact the store, even your local gaming store. Let's just say that D&D moves to an all digital platform. Okay, well then when you go to your friendly local gaming store, when you go to your Barnes and Noble, there's no more RPG books there. They basically have to cut a deal with Paizo and others. And when someone comes in and goes, hey, where's all the D&D? And all they have is, say, this, there's a huge problem. By the way, this has not gone in my mail call yet. I just got this last night. And even though I have the complete box set, I still wanted this because, quite frankly, this is not intimidating to a brand new player if I wanted to say, hey, let's play original D&D. But when they see this, the normie's not going to get it. They're not going to understand this is original D&D kind of republished and repackaged into this small collection of pages here. They're going to want what they think is the genuine article. And the fact is, you're going to have a bunch of us hanging around, telling them what you're looking for is just that's just a logo.
That
Um,
that reminds me, my night shift is on the way.
oh yeah, yeah, mine too.
Woo!
Actually, it's my
Your companion.
yeah, the companion. I got the player's guide last night, and
Yay!
the player's guide. It's I gotta say this. And this is the part that I probably should have asked, but I didn't think to. The books, the way the way they're formatted, they're like these different sizes, and I'm kind of like, I wonder why, because the core rule book fits right there on my desk hutch. The rest of them are too big for it. I put them into a 5-star folder, and that way I could keep them, nice.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Yeah.
yeah, my companion's on its way. Pretty soon, I'll also have hostile rules and settings. And what was the other one? Cepheus Deluxe. I ordered a copy of that one as well because I like my Traveler. I like my Traveler rules. I'm still having trouble setting up the character I want to. I might create some different characters for Traveler though, because it just kind of makes sense to do that. I think they made the other category just a little too difficult, but it seems like I could make some characters and make them work. But hostile solo is pretty cool. I really just want a chance to play that at some point. But I'm working on a Four Against Darkness campaign right now. But anyway, yeah, I think you're right. You know they were overwhelmed with our responses. We did win, but I'm going to put a caveat to this, and I think Bill's right on this too. Don't go to sleep on this. Don't
That's
do it.
that's
It
what I've been saying.
Yeah, we have to. Now is the time to remain hyper vigilant. We can quiet down a little bit, but we should, wizards. Uh, Kyle Brink. I'm gonna say this. I made a video. I think I was probably a little harsher than I should have been to Kyle, but um, honestly, there were reasons why I figured that was needed. But what's wrong, Bob? This is not that important. Anyway, but there were reasons I kind of went a little ham on him, and I failed to take into account this is really the fault of Chris Cow and Cynthia Williams, and unfairly they put Kyle in the line of fire and told him, handle this, clean this up, and it's like, why should he? You're the one that made the dumbass error, and honestly, it should be you in the line of fire, you know. But
Just just yesterday, I was getting kind of upset, and I'm trying to not like wig out at people and go, "What the fuck is wrong with you?" But I was getting perturbed because of the number of celebratory YouTube videos and whatnot coming out and Twitter posts going, "We won!" I had visions of that end scene at the Star Wars trilogy where everyone's firing off fireworks and pulling down the statue of Darth Sidious, and it's like, no, guys, you don't understand. We didn't win. It was a victory. It's not the end because nothing they've said cannot be taken away. This is this if you're being cynical, this is appeasement. This is telling us what we want to hear with no intention to follow through.
mm,
And what's worse is it's something I've said before. Um, you look at some property, just any old property, right?
yeah,
And they're like, we're going to retool this and we're going to make it different. And they make it awful. So you hate it. So you tell them how much you hate it. And they double down. They keep pushing forward with this awful idea. So it starts losing money, right? And then when it's actually about to break, when it's on the fringe of collapse, they go back exactly one step after you've had time to adapt to how much you hate it, right? And
yep,
that one minor acquiescence is received as the second coming. And people are like, look, they fixed everything. It's like, no, they didn't. They didn't go back to the standard. They didn't
mhm,
unmake what they had done. They just made you adapt to a lower standard and then gave you a cookie.
Yep. Watsy wants credit for seeming magnanimous now. Many will forget what turds they were. Cal, many were forgetting what turds they were the minute OGL 1.2 hit. And the thing was that this was, I think that morality clause was just like that hit piece. You publish the hit piece, you get them divided, and then you spring the Overton window right then and there. And then when they seemed to just back down, they didn't. They just worded it a little nicer. Then you start bringing on you bring that division back, because they saw the division with that hit piece worked momentarily. Once 1.1 got leaked, boom, it was everybody against them. And then as 1.2 came out, then you had a couple stragglers go back. And there is someone, I will not name this person ever, but it brought back memories of a video I saw a year ago, in which the person who made this video was they were sitting in their car, and they're saying stuff like, well, while you're out playing your bespoke game, which I'll be honest with you, I had to look that up, and it turns out he meant customized. I'm like, dude, name one game in the tabletop RPG sphere that isn't customized or customizable. Name one. Just give me one. And the person in this video was, of course, looking down his nose at the camera the whole time. And I don't know whether that was just camera placement, but the way he came across, it really seemed like it was kind of staged that way. And he went on to make this point. And this was the point that I'm like, oh, fuck off. Sith Lords. Yeah, Sith Lords, definitely. But he said this all in the same sentence, which, Joe, I think you saw that video, because I posted it to the Gilded server. And the point that he was making was, while you're just sitting in a Wi-Fi Starbucks drinking your lattes, you're not the cool kids anymore. And I'm like, oh, what the hell? And Cal already knows. Cal already knows what I'm talking about. So some are going to know who I'm talking about. But anyway, he was like, there were important conversations, world-breaking conversation. I'm like, dude, they are not that world-breaking. And, we had the 3 core rule books, which have race in it, and that's horrible. And we have the Unearthed Arcana, which is taking more and more out of the game. And we need these conversations to pop up, because we're just like, what did Gary really mean? And I'm like, we know what Gary meant. It was a game balancing mechanic. And he's like, and we need you, because the only reason you're not being heard is because your voices are silent. I'm like, our voices were told we weren't welcome, dude. We were told, maybe this isn't for you. Maybe you should, if you don't like it, you should go make your own. That's what we did. He's like, and now you're just having fun with your friends. And we're like, that's the fucking point. That's the entire goddamn point, dude. That's what this entire hobby is all about. Having fun with your friends. It's not about being a pulpit for your fucking whatever the hell philosophy it is you're trying to push.
So 2 things about cultural schizophrenia. All right. So option 1, right? Option 1 is we're not the cool kids anymore, because they're the cool kids, right? Except we're told time and time again, we were never the cool kids, because this game is played by weirdo outsiders who are poorly socialized. Right? Right?
Yep.
Or option 2, and this is the one that I actually prefer, let's get this trending on Twitter. We were always the cool kids, and because you weren't the cool kids, you were effing jealous, which is why we got it in the neck so bad for playing a bunch of silly elf games in school. Right? In which case, no, we're the cool kids. Maybe you should freaking listen to us when we tell you what they're doing, because we want you to be cool too, asshole.
Cal says, I want my imposter syndrome back. Shit, me too.
I'm not calling you out, Cal, but I do in fact hate that. I hate every time I like go onto a video or something and somebody's like, I'm a DM and I have imposter syndrome. It's like, no, you want to be a DM? Be a megalomaniacal jerk face. You're a small god with a capital G. You get to control the lives of people in your hand. Enjoy it.
You get, and here's the thing: you get to build a world. You get to,
Right.
put player characters in it, or your players get to put their characters in it and live in it for a while and see how things go. You get to give, you get to take away. That is how that game has always run. It's how any of these games have always run. And let me tell you something: it's with any group. We have completely shitty people. First game of Vampire the Masquerade I ever played was with one of the worst storytellers. He really wanted to try his hand at it. And what does he do? He has nothing prepared. That was a big red flag from the start. We all create our characters and we have these disparate characters from different backgrounds. What does he do? He puts us in a spec ops mission. Like, how is a guy who rocks out dive bars gonna suddenly be a spec ops guy? When did he become the character in Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six? This doesn't make any sense. And there were several times I was just like so sick of this game that I literally did everything I could to kill my character off until finally, and he kept negating it until finally I slammed my pencil onto the table so hard I broke it. And I was like, if you don't get the fucking hint that I'm out of this motherfucker, I will fucking make it goddamn clear to you. And he gave me this look like, wait, this wasn't supposed to happen. And he's like, well, I need everybody on board. And I took my cigarette lighter and I set fire to my character sheet. I was like, then try recovering that. And I got up, I left, and I went off to go play video games. And I'm like, this is bullshit. But that was my first ever experience with VTM. The second one of the other players had become our storyteller. We never saw that guy again. And some of the best games I ever had were with that guy as my GM. So I can tell you, I've seen some shit GMs, shit because they just don't prepare anything. They think they can wing it, and they've got all these great ideas they're going to come up with on the fly that don't fit shit. And then I've seen people that come in with just a modicum of preparation that they're able to just flesh out the world as they go, and they're just like clicking along like it's a well-oiled machine. I've seen people, they have to have a lot of preparation, and they click along like it's a well-oiled machine. And I've seen just shit people wanting to pound their pulpit or wanting to guide you through their failed ass novel, and it's like, no thanks.
I didn't play Werewolf the Apocalypse for 15 years because of the sheer negativity of my first experience with it.
Yeah, and I've heard plenty of these kinds of stories. I've heard plenty of them.
But it's also worth pointing out. Hi, I'm gonna butter myself up for a minute. Hi, I'm a DM. I'm really good. People really like my games. The most recent game I ran, a player literally looked at me in the face and told me to, eat it because he wandered down a back passage looking for something and found a dead end.
Yep.
Right. And it's like there was no good way to handle that situation. It's just like, well, you found a dead end. Sorry. And he's like, yeah, but you told us that was the way to go. It's like, well, I didn't. I said you hadn't been down that portion of the dungeon. Right. Yep. So even good DMs with lots of experience can have off days or negative situations where just sometimes the juice doesn't flow right.
Yeah, that's true. And I will say this: the second storyteller we had with VTM, he's the one that taught me, like, really in depth just how far, like we've bent rules before. We've bent rules. We were like, this doesn't really make sense for our table. But I mean, those instances were so few and far between, mainly because we were just coming into it. We were just learning it when we were kids. And then there was a period of time where it just dropped off. It dropped off the scope because all my friends moved away, So there were things like that happened. But when I started getting into this, I was playing with people. They completely warped those rules to the point where we still sometimes had the rule books there, but they weren't necessary.
Your DM walks up and it says, "Would you like a rule dodecahedron?"
Right. I mean, and we're playing with a D10 dice pool, so that's a completely different mechanic than what I was
Right.
used to. But I was able to learn it. I was able to try it because I wanted to play. That's what was most important to me. I wanted to play. But with that first one, I was like, I'm looking at my girlfriend at the time. I'm like, what the fuck are we playing? You know, why are we playing this? Is this really what this game's about? I haven't like we didn't refer to our character sheets once except for what dice we were rolling. That's it.
Oh, you want me to go on for 20 minutes? I'll tell you about the joys of
Well,
Binance
actually,
Studios LARP system, but let's not do that.
right. But anyway, let's get back to this.
Yeah.
We're digressing hard today. But they said the feedback is in such high volume and its direction is so plain we're acting now. Okay, we're leaving OGL 1.0A in place as is untouched. And to this point, to this one right here, I'm going to say this. Jason Carpenter pointed this out, and it's a good point. I've been hammering, OGL 1.0, add irrevocable to the terminology and leave it alone. Back off. Leave it as is. The problem is that would turn it into OGL, and I didn't even think of this, but it's a good thought. That would turn it into OGL 1.0B, and that still would mean everyone, if you decided, okay, now it's safe to back off, well, not so. Now, if you're only releasing in PDF, it's fine. You can just take out the old, you put in the new, you take out 1.0A, you pop in 1.0B, you update everybody's PDF. There you go.
Well, there's that, and the obvious answer from my perspective is you're going to do a 1.0B. You put in a grandfather clause. The 1.0B supplants the 1.0A. All things written under the 1.0A are to remain as is, pertinent to this OGL, so that any previous printings and previously released content doesn't have to update because they're using a grandfathered clause.
True. Yeah. I mean, you grandfather the old stuff in, you have this new thing, and it's fine.
Yeah.
But
subsequent printings, obviously, you print the new OGL. But
right. Exactly. But again, I think this, as good as this is, I think it may be a little too late. But we're going to move on with this. We're also making the entire SRD 5.1 available under a Creative Commons license. Now, I will get back to this in just a moment. There's some aspects here. If you have not checked out SRD 5.1, it is 403 fucking pages, people. 403 pages. I've seen people reporting that Strad von Zarevich is in the SRD 5.1.
I call that a bear trap, personally.
Yep. Again,
being that I am not, I'm not good at math, but I'm also not conversant in legalese.
Mm-hmm.
I have a high reading comprehension, but I can only get the gist of a legal document. There are so many clauses and components to the SRD that it's too easy to misinterpret, which is why I've never written under the OGL.
Right.
Because it's like I'm gonna miss something. I'm gonna miss something, and I'm gonna get hit with the hammer. And that's the thing is that they can go, well, we gave you what you wanted. We put it in the Creative Commons. How dare you betray our trust? Now we can bring in legal. It's like, oh shit. No.
But like I said, we'll get back to that point in just a second. Yeah. I just wanted to kind of touch on that one. Hang on, I gotta do this real quick. Okay, so
we're a professional group.
But here's the part that kind of made me go, what? It said you choose which you prefer to use. A lot of people were saying if they were to write, they would use SRD 5.1 because it's irrevocable and all that stuff. But it says this Creative Commons license makes the content freely available for any to use. We don't control that license and cannot alter or revoke it. It's open and irrevocable in a way that it doesn't require you to take our word for it. And its openness means there's no need for virtual tabletop policy. Placing the SRD under a Creative Commons license is a one-way door. There's no going back. Now, again,
don't get a lawyer. You can trust us.
right. Here's the thing. Which Creative Commons is it being published under? That's what I want to know, because it has to be clear which one it's created under. That way we know what our rights are under it. Our goal here is to deliver on what you wanted. So what about the goals that drove us when we started this process? Well, we know what the goals were. And here's the thing. We wanted to protect D&D play, the D&D play experience into the future. But did you want to protect, or did you want to shield it from your competition? So protect it from what exactly? That's what I want to know. We still want to do that, but with your help. So you need us to be inform on bigoted content or what? I don't know.
No. Continue to consume.
Continue to consume. Yeah, that's it. We're grateful that this community is passionate and active, because we'll need your help in protecting the game's inclusive and welcoming nature. The game has always been inclusive and welcoming. We don't need help doing that. And you cannot protect against you. I mean, here's the problem. Like I said, in every group, you're going to have shitty people. You cannot do anything about them except not play with them. If bigoted content gets published, or erotic content gets published for D&D, guess what? It's available. Here it is. Someone looks at it and says, this is shit. You want to know what? If you want an example, look at Fatal. How many people actually bought that game? How many people are playing it? Nobody, because it's shit.
I must admit that I acquired it. I'm not saying I went to the high seas.
I've got a PDF of it too. Don't worry.
Yeah. I did in fact spend a night. I read all 400 pages of it. I have permanent brain damage. I will never again open that PDF. If you ever want to know why am I like how I am, now you know. I read Fatal in its entirety. But no, the obvious answer is how you protect D&D from the imago fascists that don't exist is to keep consuming. Buy next product. We need your help by you buying next product. Please give us your money.
Well, let me put it to you this way. And this is what I put out there. It's very simple. Okay. Well, let's say they're shit scared that Varg's going to write something, which he already has. They are. This is the thing. It's like we're so pissed scared that Varg is going to write something, and then he's going to outperform us. It's like, dude, he already wrote something, and it has nothing to do with the OGL. The only good thing I can say about Mifrog is the rule set is solid. It works.
Let's assume for a minute that that's true. I'm not saying your statement is unreal. I'm saying let's assume it's true. Let's assume that WotC is actually afraid of Varg, right? That Varg's going to get on the OGL and do something awful. Yeah. Okay, let me get this straight. So Varg is angry German man, even though he's not German.
Norwegian. Yeah.
Varg is going to start the new party. Varg is going to lead the next Reich. It's going to happen. All he needs is a platform, and D&D is the platform. Look at Varg's quote-unquote career. From his musical career to how he got out of music to his gaming career, all the things he has done. The man can't tie his shoes straight. The man is a congenital fuck up. If you're worried about Varg as a major multinational corporation front, you are in error.
Well, okay, let me put it to you this way. All right. The thing about Varg is Varg says that he makes money on his music. Okay. The guy's got a farm. I'm going to say this, that the guy has how many kids now? Like, I don't know. 5, 6, I don't know.
Right.
He's married. He can take care of his wife and his kids. He's got a farm. It's not up to self. It's not exactly self-sufficient yet. He's got this Russian vehicle that he does the maintenance on himself. He's got videos on it. They were
Right.
all over. They were all over on YouTube before YouTube took him down. Now, when he was on YouTube, he was controlled. Once I booted him off, he went to like BitChute or wherever, and I've seen some of those videos. And let me tell you, that was like, yeah, I now you made a mistake. You made a big mistake by kicking him off YouTube, because now his views are just really out there now. If there was ever a doubt, there's not anymore. But he claims he makes money off of his music. He's taking care of a family. He's got a farm. He's been able. I mean, come on. He's been able to make videos, and he uses his own music for the videos. In fact, that's where they tried to get him initially, was copyright strikes, but it was his music, so there was nothing that could be done.
No.
His game is like $10 for the core rule book, and that price point initially attracted me to it, and I thought, hey, I get a little piece of black metal history. That's why I initially bought it. And when I read through it, there wasn't. I got the 3rd edition, and then I got the 4th edition. There's not much in the way of lore there to explore, and the rule set itself is solid, but the rest of it, I was just like, I really want to look for something else.
I'm being flippant, but my point is still is like, on the Varg farm, Mrs. Varg says, "Varg, I asked you to go out and fix the toilet. You gotta do the plumbing, right?" The man lives a conventional life of somebody who makes music and who gets musical royalties for stuff he's done in the past. He's not forming a survivalist commune. There's not a small army of neo-Vargas supremacists waiting for the Viking race war living out there.
No.
Right? And if there were, they don't have the reach or the capability to negatively affect the gaming market and to harm WotC.
Nobody. And look, even if Varg were to write a supplement for D&D 5th edition, let's just say, really, who's going to buy it?
I mean, you.
The only reason I would buy it would be for critique purposes. I wouldn't even buy Radiant Citadel.
I'm just
Why
saying,
would I buy any more from him?
But that's the joke. It's like you would get it because it's a piece of black metal history and to critique it. You wouldn't get it because you want it or you prefer it or because you're ever going to run it.
Exactly. and let me tell you, like one of the pieces that came up in the game is one of like it's my bitch about thirsty sword lesbians, and it came under, and I remember this. I don't have to look it up anymore because it stuck with me so hard. Under Thulean law, and I covered this before, but I'll just give you the brief example here. And this is in the book. I can open it and show it to you. Under Thulean law, for homosexuality, men who are found to be homosexual are immediately executed and thrown into a bog as a sacrifice to Tyr, so they cannot be reincarnated. Women, on the other hand, when they need companionship, so it's frowned upon, but it's not really it's not actionable, and it's just kind of like, it's almost kind of like, well, we kind of look the other way on that. I'm like,
it's
really,
it's that scene out of Rick and Morty where where Morty is asleep and he thinks he's fondling his teacher's boobs, but he's actually fondling his math teacher, right? And he says, about 5 more minutes of this, and I'm going to get real mad, right?
Yeah.
It's like, I could just see it. I could just see these badass Viking men at the feast sitting in an angry circle, watching the women be lesbians and going, "This makes me very angry. Proceed."
Yeah, this makes me very angry. Sven, whip out your cock. It's so nonsensical, and this is the thing. This is what's going to piss people off. Let's just say, for example, that this SRD, which is, like I said, it's 403 pages. You now have 403 pages of whatever the fuck you want in theory. I'm just going to say in theory. You have 403 pages of whatever the hell you want. You can do whatever the hell you want. You can make any fucking game you want, which is kind of what we did at our tables anyway, without permission, without consent, without approval. Now, to sell it's a different matter, but just saying, now we have that. Even if Radiant Citadel to the fucking happened, where it's even farther left than we could have ever imagined. And then on the other hand, the White Tower comes up where it's these mythical clansmen, and they're out to slaughter, they're out to create genocide. I would buy neither of these books. Personally, I would buy neither of them. Number one, because I don't care for that. I don't want one or the other. I don't even want my own politics in the game. And I'm libertarian as they come. I don't care. As long as you're not harming anyone, I'm good. You do you, I'll do me, and then we'll part ways where we disagree. That's fine. But I don't want that as a political talking point in my game. I want the big dark lord that me and my players have to fight to restore balance or restore the world they're destroying or something like that. I want, I want action. I want adventure. I want, really, I want to be able to create really good and often very silly stories with my friends. I want to sit there in my Wi-Fi Starbucks, sipping my latte, having fun with my friends. That's all I want. It's a hobby. That's all I give a fuck about.
I just had a Tim and Eric rain explosion moment.
Oh shit.
You have touched on something that I have not brought up. I haven't seen other people bring up. That I think is another problem with WotC's stewardship of D&D, and I think it might have actually even been a formative that led us to where we are now that people completely missed. So you know how they keep trying to sell that WotC is that D&D is a multiverse?
Yeah.
Okay. So they also keep trying to push this idea that you have to buy all the adventures, all the modules, right? Now, it's true that back in AD&D, you could run the modules one after the other. They were structured that way, right? But you could run them independently as standalones as well, right? WotC doesn't think that. WotC thinks of their module model as DLC expansion packs, right? Where you're supposed to buy every single thing. So I posit the following. The Radiant Citadel might not have been so offensive, okay, if there was a follow-up to it. And what I mean by that is you do the Radiant Citadel. The Radiant Citadel is exactly what it is, unchanged, as is, because it's gross. Right?
Right.
But what if they wanted to do Rise of the Bone Fortress? Right? And what it is it's a fortress made of bones, powered by the undead, ruled by an evil lich that is exactly one step removed from dudes in white hoods putting on the Reich. Right?
Okay.
And the story of the adventure is that the Bone Citadel sieges the Radiant, or the Bone Fortress sieges the Radiant Citadel and destroys it. And it's about how the survivors have to now find a new home and their dysphoria from a destroyed utopia. Right? That would actually be interesting. That would be freaking amazing. WotC, why didn't you do that? Because WotC thinks that you have to buy every adventure rather than making their individual adventures platforms for you to do anything else you want.
Exactly. And Cal says, loving the pot of re-education and eat the bugs.
Exactly.
You want to eat the bugs, you'll own nothing and be happy, yaya.
But the thing is, relative to this conversation, if the Radiant Citadel had been a platform for creativity, right? Here's a unusual environment in an unusual place. Reinterpret the society however you want. And it actually been a qualitative product, right? then you'd be on board to buy the next Radiant Citadel expansion that progresses the Radiant Citadel story, called Radiant Citadel The Fucking, when a bunch of undead show up to fucking the Radiant Citadel.
Right. And and the thing is, it's like, am I proposing that that should be a thing? No, no, not at all. My proposal is simply this: release any game you want. You can make it far left, you can make it far right. That's fine. However, I mean, there's going to be an appeal somewhere, and that's true. There's going to be an appeal somewhere. I'm not arguing Radiant Citadel should not have existed. I am not
Right.
arguing that at all. In fact, I've been to my FLGS, which moved, and I found out what a hike that was going to be. And let me tell you, I'm glad I went because the store is bigger. It's nicer. There's so much more room to move. And not only that, I was able to find these, and I'm going to show them now. In fact, I'm going to get out of this screen sharing here. I'm going to show you this because this warrants a little. This is kind of noteworthy because we did this Tuesday, and when I found these, there were only 2 sets of them. I bought both sets. I was like, hell yeah, give me them sets, because I was able to find these, and I was like, yes, need, want, must have, can afford. Here we go. Genesis dice, baby. You have to either use these or Star Wars dice to use Genesis.
I have 2 sets of the Star Wars dice.
Right. So, I mean, you can use regular dice, but you'd have to run conversions, and that's kind of a pain in the ass.
You got to have that table open, and it's BS. Yeah.
Or you have to use their dice app, which I don't know.
I
don't trust dice apps. They just, something about them says that they as a matter of fact, I'll just pull one because that was kind of crap. I realized how kind of crappy that was as an image. But anyway, just a few. I'll just pull a few.
My argument about real worlds, or my argument about specialty dice, although specialty dice can be very nice, is that they are real world DRM. They couldn't figure out a way to prevent you from stealing PDFs, so they've started to include more and more board game elements in your role-playing games that can't be replicated easily, so that you can't high seize it. Now, I understand it. Like, I don't fault them for it. But they're failing to understand that most of the people who avail themselves of an early look are actually planning to buy it when the money's there. There's every reason to ignore a certain amount of loss to encourage a community for a certain amount of gain. The number of people that just steal PDFs and will just never buy is much lower than the number of people that would love to buy, but your product's expensive.
Well, I mean, even then, like, I actually managed to get myself a copy of the, as a matter of fact, instead of posting pics to Gilded, I'll just post the original right here. Let me just send that to my computer. There we go. I actually posted this to Twitter on Tuesday night and of course, White Star and OWB came in, and I was like, woo, yeah, here we go. All right. So, but I found these, they were like $15 each. And I was like, yeah, I can do this. And, a friend of mine who was with me was like, you should totally get it. And she really doesn't have much interest in, tabletop RPGs in and of themselves, but there you go. These are the ones. And you have to use these because it's sort of the thing about Genesis is that it's a game where you build your entire RP from the ground up. It's very similar to Savage Worlds, but this one, it's something else. My dad just texted me.
I like the theory of Genesis. Like, I've got it. I bought the PDFs, both of them. But in application, I have never been able to figure out how to make it work.
Yeah, my suggestion is this: go ahead, like, if you're gonna play Genesis, get one of their pre-written modules as well, and then play that'll help make sense of it.
It is one of those game systems I've talked about before
That does
where
everything but not one thing well.
well, not just that, but it's so light and so flexible and so skiffy, just sort of do what you want, right? That the numbers start to break down and don't make sense.
Right.
I've criticized before the Margaret Weiss Productions Marvel Heroic role playing, right?
Yeah.
Because they want you to do their pre-prepared adventures. They want you to do the Raft. They want you to do Civil War. They want you to do, uh, you know, uh, Age of Ultron and whatnot. And that's annoying, but you can get around that. My actual problem with that game system is their rules for making your own superhero,
Yeah.
right, are so imprecise and lack such hard numbers that there's no balancing. You can't reason out, it's like, well, what is my character? You end up having to go, okay, my character is like this other character in this area and like this other character in this other area. So every individual role play being is basically just a compilation of other characters' mechanics with the serial numbers piled off.
Well, I mean, that's the essence of tabletop RPGs as a whole. But I'm going to say this, going back to the, and I might post that in the Gilded server too, because, I found them. I didn't have to go to Etsy for them. And I've seen them on Etsy where they 3D print them, and they're about the same. But the difference is, like, you would have to go in and paint the symbols in, which I would not have had a problem with that. That's fine.
Yeah.
That's in my wheelhouse. I can do that. If I can paint those other miniatures that you've already seen, I can paint dice symbols, no problem. But that was the only sticking point with me, was when I got the book. When I finally found the book in print, I was like, yes, and I grabbed it, and I was actually sitting in a. As a matter of fact, I think I picked that book up the day I got Temple of Elemental Evil, and I was on foot. I had to walk that thing home. And if anyone knows how big that thing is, it's a beast. It is a beast of two books.
I'm serious. I have to ask: were you like hunched over, hugging the book to your chest, going, "My precious, I will not let them take my precious"?
I was swapping arms quite a bit. Let me tell you, man. Look, my arms were sore when I got home. When I put that thing down, you heard an audible thunk on the coffee table. I was like, "Jeez."
I'm just saying. I can imagine. You have Wolfgar, a very handsome, well-spoken man about town, suddenly turns into Gollum and it's like, exactly.
Hear a knock at the door. That comes to my precious. No. But yeah, I have my basic fantasy messenger bag, which I'm sure everyone's seen by now, and that's slung across me. So I've got that book I've got Genesis in there. I've got Temple of Elemental Evil that I'm having to, do some fancy handwork with. And when I finally get the thing home, it's boom right on the coffee table. I'm like, geez. So there was that. But then, like, just kind of going back to this whole OGL thing for a second, because I really do want to close out. I'm with both camps. We won, but now's the time to watch them like a hawk. And I, Bill Sylvia, on that, watch them like a hawk, because, quite frankly, they've tried this twice.
The thing is that now is the time for them to try and pull a fast one. Everybody's cheering, everybody's happy, the alcohol's come out, the fireworks are in the air, and that's great. I'm actually happy. I'm like, wow, we accomplished something more than I thought we would ever get. Right?
Yeah.
But now's the time, when you've got your money in hand, that's when they put the fix in. That's when they swipe your wallet when you're not looking.
Well, it's what John Travolta said in the movie Swordfish. It's called misdirection. What the eyes see and the ears hear, the mind must believe. So it's important. Don't get misdirected. Like, don't kick off those D&D Beyond subscriptions again. At least not yet. We have to see that. We have to see the follow through first and foremost. That has to come because without that, we're probably going to get taken again. Like I said, they've already tried. They've tried this twice. Once with fourth edition, and then another time with this. I'm sorry, guys, but I'm going to say this. I really think you should try some other systems. And if you're one of those that have been saying maybe D&D is not for you anymore, I have to side with John, the basic expert on this. How does that feel? And I'm not asking you because I'm gloating. I'm asking you because now you're in the very same position we are. And what we're telling you isn't, I told you so. Now they're marketing to the next generation, which that didn't take long. What I'm telling you is come over here. Let's try some different stuff. I think you're going to find that, I think, you'll find this a little more to your liking. You may even like it a little more. And I think Don's right. They didn't say they would not unauthorize. They just said they will leave it untouched. Orc and Black Flag still need to happen. We can't let that go. You know what? I've seen that Paizo is doubling down on that. They're not letting go of that. So I'm in agreement. I think what you're going to see now. I think the win coming right there on the heels of D&D's 49th birthday is a late birthday gift. I'm not going to deny that, but again, I'm with you on this one, Don. We know who they are. We can't forget that. And when we say we know who they are, we're talking about Chris Cow. We're talking about Cynthia Williams. We know the corporate fuckery that went on. We cannot forget that. We cannot allow it to be forgotten. And I think this is the really important thing. Those cultists who are like, oh, there's no reason to not go back. And if you're not, you're just a bigot. Well, keep in mind, that is all the argument they have. They don't have anything else. And once you realize that, once you realize you do not need their permission, their consent, or their approval, you just go play your fucking game and be done. This was to ease off the backlash on the movie. Yep. They're scared shitless that movie will bomb. It probably will.
It's not just that. This is something I noticed yesterday when I didn't even know, and I was like, "What the hell?" Their announcement that they aren't going to go forward, that they're gonna pull back, was on the anniversary of D&D's creation. They went out of their way to announce it on the anniversary because they knew the metrics would look good to say it on the anniversary.
No, the announcement came the day after.
Day after?
Because it was the 26th that was the 49th anniversary of D&D. But they announced this on the 27th.
But still, it's the time to do it because at this moment, people should be at their highest interest in D&D because they should be celebrating D&D's continuing lifespan, not bemoaning its modern failure. And you're right, they're worried about the movie. They should be worried about the movie. The last time they did a funny D&D movie, it had a weigh-ins in it.
Oh. And you know what? Here's the thing. As much as I wanted to like that movie, my hang up with it wasn't really Marlon Wayans, though.
My problem is drunken dwarf who wants to molest things and vomit.
Well, my biggest problem was Bruce Payne in blue lipstick. What the fuck was that all about? Here we go. The announcement came after the Critical Role announcement that there was a mega contract with Amazon and saying they stand with the community.
That's called season 2 of Vox Machina, which is now on Amazon.
And I still haven't watched that show.
Oh dear God, it's so bad. But
keep in mind, there's also a Vox Machina comic book, and I know that because there's a comic shop just down the street called Secret Origins, which the guy who runs it is amazing, and I love him to death. He's talking about a pivot into tabletop role-playing games. I don't know if or when that's coming now, but he's got that. It's on his shelves. I've seen it.
But this is why I've been telling people have been saying since day one, oh, well, we got to know what Critical Role's going to say. Why do we give a shit what Critical Role's going to say? Well, because they're going to be affected. They're going to matter. It's like, no, Critical Role was always safe. Critical Role was never under threat. And when you actually look at what they said was incredibly middle of the road. It was incredibly non-committal. It was, we stand with the fans, but we won't do anything to affect our corporate masters because they are part of the business.
Well, it's good business. It was a
It
good
is good
business
business.
strategy on their part. I totally understand why.
But the reason I say that they were never in threat is because Vox Machina was a multi-season investment on Amazon. That's a big money source, and as you say, they've got a comic book, and they did their Wildemount book for D&D 5. You know, they've done stuff for WotC that was released officially.
Yeah, but
Critical
don't
Role's
they?
in bed with WotC.
Don't they have? I think was it Mercer that has his own publishing company, or is it all of them together? I don't
I've
know.
The theorem is that he's working on a game, but it's never been seen, it's never come out, and nobody knows who he's publishing it through.
Right.
Also, it's worth pointing out that people from Critical Role don't have loyalty just to Critical Role. LA by Night, which is a front for selling V5 for Paradox, right,
Yeah.
has Critical Role alumni on it. And Dimension 20 alums. That's who their players are. That's their actors for that game.
So Don says that Critical Role has their own publishing company. Okay, that's cool. All the YouTubers and influencers talking about OGL and other systems. That's also true. As a matter of fact, I caught a video from Bob World Builder this morning. Now I'm going to thank Bob personally because Bob brought up the game Skate Wizards.
Mm-hmm.
And if you haven't seen that, I will show you the picture of mine that came in. I'm going to say it's $35 shipped. This is not bad in the least. It's awesome.
I like the little animation of the wizard in his robe with his staff and his hat on a skateboard, going down the half pipe.
Yeah, that was when it was Loot the Body who did that one. And that was the band, which you're going to see here in just a second. They did this, and I was like, "This is amazing." And here it is. This is what $35 will get you. You got the core rule book. You got 2 character sheets, which are folded, so they give you all the basic stuff you need. A really cool sticker, which I'm gonna stick on my I'm gonna put that on my Rocket book. A cassette tape by Loot the Body with 6 songs on it, which is this psychedelic skateboard rock. It's really, really cool. I listened to it on the way to and from work. And then these dice I thought were red, but they're actually a tiger eye brown. I thought that was really cool too. The picture that was shown on the site showed the dice as blue. I didn't care. That I thought that was just a really cool color with easy to read numbers. And this I've read the Skate Wizards core rule book 4 times in one day because I just could not stop laughing and understand the laughter was not out of this is ridiculous. The laughter was, holy shit, this is amazing. And it looks like such a fun game. And that's really all any of us really want is just a really fun game. I've talked with Michael, one of the guys who created it, and he said that he regularly puts the tape in his big yellow Walkman. And I went, wait a minute, the one that opens kind of funny. And as it turns out, he and I have the same Walkman. So yes, I put that tape into my Walkman and listen to it.
See, this is old school gaming. Not just because it's very simple and it's in pamphlets and whatnot, but because unlike some of the modern LOL random stuff that D&D has done recently, if you came to my table and you said, Joe, I know that you're making a very serious campaign, but I want to play a magic user. I'm like, okay. And then you put Skate Wizards in front of me and said, I want to play one of these. Right?
Right.
Yes, I would absolutely work with you to convert a Skate Wizard to D&D.
Or, and here's the thing. Here's the amazing thing. Just to test the theory, I was looking at this package and I was like, I wonder. I took down my Swords and Wizardry complete box set. I opened it up and I was able to fit all of that into that box with Swords and Wizardry. So I don't have to find extra space for it. It fit right there with it. Now, the Swords and Wizardry white box rules book that I have does not fit into that box.
Well,
It's just a touch too big on like two
well,
sides. I was like, oh, that's disappointing, but
well,
whatever.
here's my thing. Is just last weekend, I had to have a conversation with the guys over at the Gospel of Comics. We were talking about how the woman who created the combat wheelchair, right, wussed out and said that she was pulling her content and please don't reprint it anywhere else on the internet because she doesn't approve of what WotC is doing, which sounds like she's standing with us, but she's not, because she's claiming that WotC's making her do it, that she's being outed and personally attacked. And it's like, no, you aren't. No, you weren't. Nobody liked this. Don't lie, right? But here's the thing, though, right? You look at me, you say, I want to play a dude in a wheelchair, and I'm just a dude in a wheelchair. It's like, no, sorry, that doesn't work. You tell me, I want to play a wizard who goes around on a skateboard, and when I'm like, how are you going to get over uh, traps and stuff? It's like, it's a hoverboard. And I'm like, okay, I can see that. Why do you skateboard? It's like, because my order doesn't let you get off the board. It's the order of the board. You have to stay on your board at all times. Otherwise, they'll throw you out. It's like, okay, I can work with this. This is just wacky enough to be acceptable.
Yeah, it's wacky. It's wacky, and it's a good time. That's why I picked it up. So $35 shipped. I'd say it's the PDF is only like $5, but
Oh,
you
wait a
do
minute.
get PDF and
Wait,
you get a
wait,
digital download of
wait.
the music.
Raven, did you say you talked to the guys who made this?
Yeah.
Dude, you've got to pass on a message for me. There's a follow-up game for this.
Well, I've actually thought of one myself, but go ahead.
Surf Wizards.
Surf Wizards, holy crap!
If you got wizards on a board who are
You
skating,
got to have wizards on the
then you
surf.
gotta
Yeah.
have right, and their enemy is the coastal sorcerers.
Oh my goodness!
Because they want them off the beach.
Oh no! Oh, that is great parody. Actually, I was actually not many people know this, okay, but if you didn't follow me on High Notes, I actually I had characters I was doing, and one of them was one of the easiest characters I ever stepped into. It was the Intuitive Dude, and he's a surfer guy, completely talks like one, and blonde hair, always wearing the Baja Joe hoodie and stuff like that. Anyway. I actually kind of had that character in my head, and he's looking at it and he's telling me he thought like I thought of this, and I was like, that's a great idea. So I thought about making my own little supplement for it if it turns out to be any worth a shit, and call it Skate Wizards: The Blades of Power. So yeah, I mean in the game, if you take too many, like if your board breaks or something like that, uh, like you don't die, but you turn into a poser.
Right.
And then you can stay a level 7 poser, or you can reduce your level back down to 1 and rejoin the Hermetic Order of Skate Wizards. So I thought about what would happen if someone became the ultimate poser, because I'm telling you right now, most people who are into like skateboarding professionally, they hate people who use rollerblades.
Right.
Like, I don't get the hate, but it's there. But I was like, play on that kind of thing a little bit, and make like a skate wizard who became corrupted, and now he initially he found this better way of getting around, and it was the blades of power, and they corrupted him absolutely.
So his name is Skatator.
Skatator. So you have your Lord of the Rings parallel there, and you have the blades of power, but they're corrupting you, and you can't really use them all that much. And if you do, every time you use them, it corrupts you more. It gives you an advantage, but it corrupts you more. And the whole thing is you got to destroy these things. And it's like, okay, that could, especially if you turn into a poser with that could have some implications. I don't know how to enact it. I just know that that's what I have written down because it was funny to me. But it's something for like a homebrew campaign. Once you finish up the adventures
We,
in the initial book there. But
we need a pamphlet about the wonderful world of Skate that is just expanded lore about the world of Skate Wizards.
yeah, and let me tell you, Skate Wizards is it is such a good concept. It was executed so well, and I do recommend it. It's one of those games that personally gets my it gets if I have to rate it, out of 5 stars, it gets 5. It goes all the way up to 11. It's great. I
We do not
recommend it.
speak of the dark times, the
We do not.
Skate Metal Wars.
Right. But anyway, like that was a good one. I also came across this on what next is Blades of Glory, Iced Couples from Star Chucks. I love that. Now we can bring ice skating into it. That's pretty cool. But I think Blades of Glory might be trademarked as a movie. So
Does that mean that the example villain in Iced Couples is just Tanya Harding?
ooh, ouch. Now only those over 40 are going to get that reference.
Yeah, no, that's an old man joke.
And here's the thing. I've seen Tanya Harding back when Court TV became True TV, and they had like World's Dumbest. She was on there, and I really enjoyed her commentary.
I find it really weird that I end up defending Tanya Harding. Actually, yes, she did something very terrible. She was involved in a horrible conspiracy. All of that's awful, and I'm sorry, Tanya. You were chubby. You were never gonna make it. You had all the grace of a cattle on the ice, but she did not deserve the ill use she got when she went on celebrity boxing. That was bullshit.
Well, guess what?
Or-
I'm about to introduce all of you to something else I found, which I think is amazing.
I didn't mean to blow your mind.
But here
Okay.
here we go. I'm going to kick this. Let me just not that. Okay. Here we go. Here we go. Okay, so this is something else I found this week, and I thought it was great, and I'm going to tell you this. Probably buying, most likely. And at some point I'm hoping I can get Mike and the guys that created Skate Wizards. I'm hoping I can get them on, and we'll talk Skate Wizards a little more. I'm also hoping I can get this person on, because this is some amazing stuff. And if you're over 40, you're probably going to love it too, especially if you like the 80s in any way, shape, or form. This guy calls himself Dreamkid, and this is a dude from South Africa who he surfed. So interesting. We talked about surfing just a minute ago. He surfed. He played guitar. He's a musician. Wanted to form a punk rock band. Relocated to the UK. Was in a punk rock band. Then the lockdowns happened. He found synthwave was a big thing, and decided to start doing that. And I'm going to actually play this. And the caption reads, "It's 1987. A cyborg working for the police is headed toward the city to stop the chaos once and for all." Get ready for this. Now, that is badass. I need.
I am.
I mean, look, you could take that music, you could put it into your cyberpunk game, with You could even put it in the wretched verse because now there's Vice, Sand Cove gets the blues. So you and your undercover partner can now blast down a causeway in that Florida type setting in a white Ferrari wearing pastel suits, heading to take down a cartel. And there's the song playing in the background as everyone watches on TV. Yeah, you could totally keep it wretched to something like that. And I played that
I
for
mean,
a
I have
coworker who
always
was
been
like,
into
"That belongs in
synthwave.
Stranger Things." I happen to agree.
I've always been into synthwave. Carpenter Brut, Kavinsky. I've got both Hotline Miami's, which if you've never played, oh my god, Hotline Miami's trip.
And Cal said,
Uh,
"Then there's Calsploitation, Surfs and Turfs. All will be composted."
I mean, I'll
I
make
love
it
that.
happen.
Of course, Don thinks it's awesome, and of course, Cal's like, "Wretched." Hell yeah,
I mean,
I'm good with that.
I'm currently working on the Red Ministries, and I'm up to the section on blood sorcery. And oh man, is it broken if you're willing to be evil?
Hey, here's one. Freak Base decided to do something with that. Let's see what it is. I haven't seen this yet, so let's see what this is. Go back to the beginning. Oh shit! That was amazing. I mean, with the added bass, that really gave it some depth and really gave a little bit of a distortion to some of those notes. That was, I mean, damn, nice compilation there. I love that. That's great. And then there's a couple more that I really dig. Here we go. So this is also Dreamkid. 1988, a group of teens on their BMX bikes are getting chased late at night by an evil villain. This is great for kids on bikes.
As long as it's better than my experience with kids on brooms.
Oh, they're actually doing Stranger Things.
I don't know what they were lost.
Oh my god, it fits. Actually, I probably shouldn't show any more than that, mainly because it's we're probably going to get a copyright strike. Yeah, I'm probably going to have to cut that out. But hey, whatever, it's fine. I don't monetize this anyway.
In matter of point, for people who come here to learn how to do the game, which is no one, but why not? You mentioned kids on bikes.
Yeah.
I was introduced to that game system through its secondary, Kids on Brooms.
I saw that at the FLGS. And in fact, I'm just going to plug them. Top Deck Games. I saw it there. I didn't pick it up, but I did see it.
We had someone in our peer group we don't associate with anymore for reasons I'd care not to get into, but they were a big Harry Potter fan. Right. And I was like, I'm not really into Harry Potter. They're like, yeah, but I'm also a Lovecraft fan. I'm like, okay. And it's like, what if Kids on Brooms, but Lovecraftian? And I'm like, all right, that might work.
Yeah.
So we all made characters, and we only played one session. It was a horrible experience. I wasted my time. I shouldn't have gone. Why? The DM did not use the character sheets. You filled them out. They were full of information,
Oh.
right? And it's not that they weren't used on a mechanical level, but the information in them wasn't used. So for anyone who's coming here to learn the wisdoms of the Raven and his hanger-on, use your sheets. Use what the players tell you. Harness that stuff. It's not about needing a 10-page backstory and expecting the DM to care. It's that if the DM has you put in paperwork, use that paperwork.
Yeah, for real. And I mean, look, it, you know, like this, like the stuff by Dreamkid here, I'm going to say this. He's got a Bandcamp and he offers the album digitally, on CD, and cassette. Now, that's not the only choice you get. You get the cassette, you get a choice in cassettes. It's either going to be Pacific Blue or Bubblegum Pink. Tell me how that is not the most 80s shit you've ever heard in your life. That is amazing. I'm like, I want it on CD and cassette. Hell with it. I'll rip this son of a bitch to my phone. But I was thoroughly impressed with that. I brought it to work. I, let my boss hear it. He was like, dude, that is badass. And a coworker of mine who's a musician as well, who went to college for music, he just shit all over it. He's like, oh yeah, you could totally do that with a program, man. You just like put these loops in there. I'm like, he's actively playing this. I think the piece of equipment, that synth that he held up where he was doing the drum machine with it, that one runs like $100. And I was thinking I might get one just to, plink around on it and create my own stuff for like my cyberpunk games or whatever. But there's one more thing I wanted to cover. Shit, I almost completely forgot about this, and I shouldn't. The OGL debacle, which is going on right now. Well, nope, it's that part of it is over. Like I said, keep close watch. There's another one going on between Cepheus and Mongoose, and I've gotten kind of conflicting stories on it. One is that Mongoose wants everybody on board with second edition Traveler, and it's almost like there's all take no give. I've also heard that Cepheus is trying to do the same thing. I don't have all the ins and outs on this because on MeWe, I have put in for, let's see, under my groups here, I have put in for Cepheus Engine. I've applied, but no one's approved me yet. It's been months. So I don't know. I couldn't tell you what's going on with that. What I do know is that Paul Elliott from Zozer Games, I think that's him running his Twitter. I don't know. So if I'm wrong, feel free to correct me. What was told to us was that the negotiations are actually going well. Like there's a lot of positivity, but what it was Cepheus wanted, they wanted, they wanted all of second edition Traveler open, and they wanted Mongoose to publish. They didn't want Mongoose to have any rights to publish any of their work. And I'm like, okay, but that it doesn't matter who's asking. When you're asking too much one way, it doesn't really work out. There has to be some kind of there has to be some sharing and sharing alike here, I think, because that's what makes games better, in my opinion. If you're competing and one's beating out the other, there's a friendly competition going on, that forces the other side to kind of either do better or, go under. And we've seen that with, look at the Monday Night Wars back in the 90s between WCW and WWE. Plenty of people were watching WCW because it had content that was funded by Ted Turner. WWE was at a point where they could barely pay their wrestlers. And somehow that stripped down, that stripped down version of WWE at the time, combined with the real kind of raw, gritty thing they were doing, worked out. And of course, WCW had a hand in that, mismanaging their brand, and next thing you know, they went under, and WWE bought it. And even Chris Jericho was saying he wished he had known how much Vince had paid, or Vince was going to pay for it, because he'd have bought WCW himself. And I was like, it went for that little, or did Chris Jericho really have that much? Because this was a two rival, competing big names. One was on the one had a foot out the door, and the other on a banana peel. Let's face it. But that's why I'm saying I will never argue for the banning of anything. Never argue for the banning of Radiant Citadel or Mifarog or anything like that. I think they should be allowed to exist. I think they should, and I think the market should decide. Me, I'm going to go buy Chronicles of Iris. I'm going to go buy Arcanus Runic Edition, or Temple of Elemental Evil from Goodman Games, or some other supplements for D&D. Just kind of where I can. But what's up, Bubba? But anyway, that's what I'm saying. Like, I can easily ignore both. The problem is when you have these two extremes, they can't ignore each other. And that's the real problem
Dano.
here. And Zeralath says, lurking, may miss a lot at work. Okay, well, glad you're here anyway. And of course, Dano, my man. And here's the thing, I've been talking with Dano. He's thinking about doing interviews and stuff on YouTube himself, which I'm like, hell yeah, do it, man. Get it done. I'm more than happy to step in and help however I can. What we really have though with the Cepheus Mongoose thing is that I'm going to trust Paul on this issue. Everything's going pretty well. Everything's working out as they need it to work out. So I'm not going to say that there's trouble in paradise. Obviously, there's something going on that needs to happen. I'm hoping that things turn out well. And there was some advice of, if you're wanting Cepheus anything, get those books now. So I did pick up Cepheus Deluxe, Hostiles Settings and Rules books, and we've got those on the way. Thank goodness for that. I think a lot of us hit, and I think this is a good point to kind of wrap up everything. We've all hit some serious FOMO in the last couple of weeks, have we not? I mean, honestly, the only real disappointment that I can see right now, and I'm happy that I have this disappointment, so it's not weighing heavily on me, is that all my pre-OGL 1.2 or 1.1 or 2.0 or whatever Wizards was going to go with, all that's not going to shoot up in price or in value tomorrow. But I'm fine with that, and I think you're right, Yodano. This is one side has a lot harder of a time ignoring the other. And you know what? Here's the thing. They both, and I get why, because both of them spread a very dangerous ideology, no matter which one you go with. And much more dedicated to old school D&D than I have been previously. Hey, me too. I mean, I did finally get my hands on Swords and Wizardry White Box, those rules. I finally got my hands on those. So instead of just kind of going, well, is White Box FMAG really what they meant? I can actually go to the source now and see that. I think White Box FMAG is still a good rule set. It's widely available, and it's a little less expensive than the Swords and Wizardry White Box rules, unless you wanted to. Well, even in PDF, it's still less expensive. You got $2 for Swords and Wizardry versus free for White Box FMAG. So, just whatever your wallet says that you can grab, I would still say grab it. I don't know. There's a simplicity. There is a real simplicity in OD&D and basic and expert D&D, even Back Me, which Beck Me just expands on the basic and expert sets that I like. You know what, Dano, honestly, I think you're going to do all right. Here's the thing. Don't expect to be like Johnny Carson. Go in with an explanation of this. Here's how I'm going to start out. You're going to refine your own style over time. It's going to happen. You don't have to worry about face planting. Hell, last week, how long, Joe? How long did we go before we realized, hey, we're not on the air?
A good 5 to 10 minutes.
5 to 10 minutes.
Rambling.
We are rambling with Jason and Tim, and then I realized, wait, I'm not on the air. Why am I not on the air? Holy shit!
I lean more towards 5. I think we were actually on point, but it was still a solid 5 minutes of hi, how you doing? Oh wow, let me tell you how great you are.
Yeah, and we're doing the intros. We're letting the CVs off, and nobody saw that.
So
we're late as hell.
So we got about 15 minutes before our approved stop time, because supposedly we have a schedule.
Yeah.
And I want to ramble about what I'm working on, because I think it will be interesting. I think you will enjoy it. And hey, free advertising for the Red Room. I'm sure they love it too.
Absolutely. We will advertise for them freely all day long. It's no problem for us.
So like I said, I'm working on Blood Sorcery. Blood Sorcery is a perk that any vampire can take, or any mortal who is cunning enough to get it. Okay. Yeah. And the reason it's a perk and not like a career, although you can take it as a career, is the idea is you can hurt yourself by sacrificing your own hit points for any magical effect that you can learn. So if you are, say, a necromancer, in lieu of your physical, in lieu of material components, you can just sacrifice blood.
Right.
Okay, well that makes sense. Except the fun, especially for vampires, is that they have found you don't have to sacrifice your blood. You can sacrifice living people.
So basically, you're Chuck Norris.
Well, the thing is that what they have found is
no. What you're missing is Chuck Norris donates blood, just never his own.
Oh yeah, exactly.
You're Chuck Norris.
But in the rules, there's a mechanic where if you cast more than one spell a day, you take negatives. Right. The actual mechanic for sacrificing a mortal is it reduces negatives at a 1-to-1 rate to the number of lives you sacrifice.
No.
So you want to cast a 6th level spell. It's an intrinsic -6 to start, and then possibly more minuses if you've done more magic that day, because it's all ritual cast. But if you kill 6 humans, you can reduce that to a -0.
Yeah, true. And if I think if you're bouncing off stream right now, thank you for coming. I definitely appreciate it. I understand some of you guys are working and everything. You can't listen all day. I understand. So have a great day. Thank you for coming again. I hope to see you maybe next week. I'm still. I just wanted to kind of get this out of the way. Okay. I'm still not exactly sure what's going to happen just yet. I do know that there won't be a full scale Friday video this coming week because I'm working that morning instead of that evening. So
yeah,
I'm going to be doing that. I will not be in the Horde Wars game tonight, mainly because I'm going to be like listening for the phone, and I just got texts from both my mom and my dad. Nothing to do with what's going on, but Dad's like, forwarding me a lot of stuff. You got to go look at this. You got to go look at that. And I'm like, okay, I'll look at it as soon as this is over. But after this, I'm gonna be like, once the show ends, I'm gonna make sure the links go out. I'm gonna make sure it gets posted to all the other platforms, and then I'm out of here.
That's why I'm rambling at you about this, is because I want to get all my gamer talk out before I can't bother you.
All right, go ahead. You got 10 minutes. Go.
Right. So after you understand the costs of magic, if you roll to activate and you fail, you have to roll in the blood sorcery ritual table, a separate failure chart. Um, if you roll a 1, you get tainted gore. It just doesn't work, but the blood is now tainted and corrupt, and until you clean it up, it imposes negatives to subsequent castings because it's tainted. Okay, that's
Right.
not so bad. Little horrors. The pool of supernaturally charged goo becomes 1d12 fleshy, animate, 6-foot tall creatures like gremlins who hate the ritualist and seek their downfall through cruel, mischievous tricks.
You got that from Subspecies.
No, I got that from Evil Dead.
Really? Have you never seen the Subspecies movies?
I have never seen Subspecies, but I've heard the name before. I'm familiar with its existence.
Dude.
I think it's on Amazon, so I might check it out.
Dude. Yeah, you need... Okay, here's what you need to do. You need to take a day and go watch those movies. They are low budget. They're full moon entertainment. They have one iconic vampire. It is... And they do some recasting, but not around
I love full moon.
Yeah, you're going to love the Subspecies movies.
Yeah.
Like, personally, I do. I love how terrible they are at parts, but my goodness, they are 90s as hell.
So, Squirming Thing. The pile of flesh and blood sacrifice becomes animate, but unable to move or act beyond making pathetic noises and longing for death.
What's up, T-shirt?
Because killing it once wasn't bad enough. Hey, T-shirt! You roll a 4. We accept your offering. The ritualist gets nothing, but the blood is absorbed into the earth or evaporates, leaving nothing. Skinless Hounds. The sacrifices transform into 1d4 minus 2 4-legged hounds of muscle and sinew. These creatures have no loyalty, but can be compelled into service. And if you roll a 6, we will take you. Ephemeral shadows made of blood manifest into the air and attack the ritualist and will tear 1d4 plus 2 hit points of blood from the ritualist.
Jeez.
So, all kinds of fun. But then we have a mechanic called Stolen Lives. If you're using insight points, which mages can use as they become more and more unnatural to offset problems, you can instead use them to reflexively activate rituals you've cast previously. Right? So, before you leave your domicile, right, you cast a ritual. You've charged it up. And then later, as you are about adventuring being a wretched piece of filth, you encounter a bunch of vampire hunters, and you're like, man, I really wish I had some extra oomph, right? You spend an insight point, you snap your fingers, and you activate the ritual. So you don't have to activate it when you cast it. You can activate them later. But you have to roll the potential failure when you activate it. And I just want to, as a last thing, I want to walk you through the chart here, the nifty rituals we got. Maybe you can suggest some more. Ooh. Assuming you're still there. We all know this is when Raven went and got herself a cup of coffee. She's not there. I'm talking into open air, boring everyone. A T-shirt. They're going to be a this week in stuff today. I hope so. But so we have level 1 rituals: predatory awareness, locate blood, desecrate earth, and ward off the living. It's all very, very conventional. Nice. If I'm not doing groceries, I will be there. But yes, everybody who's here, go check out the Weekend Geek every Saturday, 4 p.m. Central. It is the place to be. It is the thing to watch.
It is, and I love the panels on it. They're a lot of fun to watch and listen to, and sometimes react to. Sometimes you'll find me like I always check it out, but I'm not always in the chat because most times I'm watching it on my TV.
Right. So, level 2 rituals, we have Paralytic Stare, Unnatural Physical Prowess, Blood Lure, and Ride the Traveler, where the vampire can project their senses onto their minions. So you don't have to actually be where your minions are, but you can see what they're seeing. Snuff Light, because nothing says loving like a vampire snapping its fingers and all your lights turning out. Otherworldly Visions, they can actually see uh, prophetic images. Uh, Unnatural Mental Acuity, so vampires drink blood and get smarter. Unseen Murderer, because we all want to be Gary Oldman and say, you can't see me. And then at level 4 is when they start to get interesting. Bestial Traits. So we don't become a full animal, we just gain the traits of them. Inherited Traits. We give those traits to our minions. Empower the Beloved Servant. It's where we make better servants to then take inherited traits. And Form of the Beast, so vampires turning into animals. Level 5, Animate Gargoyle. You don't have to make the gargoyle, you just have to animate it. Miasmic Stroll. We turn into mist and walk around, of course. Compel Spectre. Let's just make ghost minions. And Abominable Combination. We've already got super minions. Why not slap animals on them? Because those two things together totally won't be awful. And then the penultimate vampiric abilities are, for blood sorcery, are Mastery of the Flesh, when you can really start doing awful things like genetic manipulation and making yourself a pathogen. Vampirism. That's right. Vampirism itself is a ritual. You can inflict vampirism on people with ritual. Lord of the Manor, where you upgrade from merely desecrating a resting place and hiding out to literally empowering a magical castle to be the lord of this land. And Teeth of the Dragon. This one is a little skiffy. Are you familiar with the legend of Cadmus?
No.
Cadmus was a Greek king who slew a dragon, and then at the advice of a messenger of the gods, pulled that dragon's teeth and tilled the soil with them, which spawned warriors who literally crawled out of the ground. And those warriors went on to be the first Myrmidon and help him establish a city-state. Most famously seen in Jason and the Argonauts, when the evil king uses the teeth of the Hydra to spawn skeletons. So this is that. This is the vampire bleeds out, and evil skeletons crawl out to do his bidding. And whether it's a couple of dudes or it's the army of darkness is relative to the number of minions you can control.
Wow. That's kind of a lot. I know you've been working on this thing a little while now, but like you've been shooting me messages. I've been getting them. I just, I'm always either at work or getting ready for work.
Yeah. The basic notion is, if you're using the Red Ministries as a supplement or replacement for the vampire rules in Wretched Darkness, that Red Ministry vampires are a little stronger, closer to veteran status than your average Wretched vampire, because they are more than likely living in the Beyond, and they are possibly older, right? Because there's a change to the lore is the suggestion that while vampires still age in a practical sense, they do not suffer the negative of the of psychological degeneration as long as they live in the Beyond.
Right.
So old vampires in the extra dimensional hellscape happen. The thing is that you're in the Beyond. All of the dangers are more manifest. All of difficulties, you need that power to survive.
It looks like Cal's familiar with your with the thing you're talking about, and then he likes it.
Yeah.
And I actually found this, like, I was going through, like, I remember a while back, Eric asked me, "Hey, did you get your copy of Wretched Darkness yet?" And I'm like, "Copy? No, I haven't picked that one up yet." I was just about to pick it up when I was like, well, first let's see what updates I have. I went into my updates and I found a copy of Wretched Darkness just kind of sitting in there. So I have to take this brief moment to say to Sylvia and Miguel, thank you so much. I completely did not even know it was there until I checked, and I'm probably real late to the party. Like the title of the video says, better late than never. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure kind of looking through that one.
I actively, this is not me buttering them up, because I always say that of the two of them, Miguel seems like he's the all business guy. Sylvia is really nice, but Miguel he's not an unfun guy, but he's kind of no nonsense, So but I gotta say, they are really the bright spot in the gaming community. They are absolutely what I tell people, like a game maker should be. Because when I dropped them a line about, I really like this idea that you guys are purporting. I'd love to work on some accessories. I'm just not very knowledgeable in the material because I was spending a lot of money on my mother's funerary needs at that point, and my funds were dwindling as I'm trying to get a job and get stable. They sent me a PDF of Retsploitation.
Oh, nice.
Like an official, like it's in my drive-through RPG. I can re-download it, but no, it's a free copy of Retsploitation. They're outright like, here, look, this is what we do. Go with it. Let's see what you can do.
Yeah.
They didn't have to. I don't advertise it a lot because I don't want people going and like begging them for free stuff. That's not the point, right? I mention it now because it was so unexpected and so kind, and it instantly, like, Watsy, take lessons from this small print game company.
For real.
They made a fan and devotee for life. Because it's like, oh man, everyone should play the Red Room. They totally love their fans, and they actively will tell you, and they want to work with you to make their game better.
Yeah. And on top of that, the like one of the things I noticed, they do have like you can get the core rules for just about any one of their games. They do have quick start guides for just about everything. They're working on a Supers game themselves, which I can't wait to see. The only reason I have not picked up, like I still haven't picked up Wretched Apocalypse and Wretched Darkness in print yet, is because the books are a little on the these are like the most expensive of the Wretchedverse books, but I understand why. I mean, these are some pretty hefty books. They've got some page count going for them. They've got a lot of there's probably been some extra cash spent in there on layout and artwork, and they look really good. I just haven't picked those up yet. I have picked them up in PDF. Like I think I've picked up just about everything in PDF. I'd have to go back and look. That's the only problem with having a PDF library. You forget what's in it half the time. But like here lately, I think one of my biggest pieces of excitement was getting World War II Operation White Box. I'm going to be taking Night Witches and trying to integrate it into that. That way, if we do have female players at the table, which we always welcome, and they want to take on a combat role, Night Witches facilitates that very, very nicely, I think. And because, I mean, the Operation White Box does have gender roles in it. So I have to kind of go back and look through it again. I only looked through it once with a couple times with PDF, and still impressed. White Star's another one I'm looking at right now. So, I've got some books I really need to catch up on. But in any case, I think, the Wretchedverse, original D&D, the OSR clones, I think really are still the way to go. I really think instead of running back to Wizards of the Coast or Hasbro or whatever, and keep in mind, I was actually interested in like Hero Quest and the G.I. Joe game, but ever since this, I'm not entirely sure I'm 100% on board with that anymore. I would have to see this like set in stone before I change my mind. So if this manages to get set in stone, it's as is. It's not revocable. They can't come after third party publishers anymore. stuff like that. I think then maybe I could be kind of convinced to take another look at like Hero Quest or GI Joe or something like that. There have been talks about creating a version of GI Joe with the serial numbers filed off, and I can get behind that. You could do it from World War II Operation White Box and kind of go from there. But
You
anyway,
could also do a cyberpunk with like a post NATO super PMC fighting super terrorists.
yeah, like a global terrorist organization that's funded by a colossal hedge fund like the twins. I cannot remember what their names. I know it's Zomax. Tomax and Zamo, I think their names were. But
I mean, the obvious is that instead of calling it Cobra, because obvious, you call it Jorgenmunder, because it's the serpent that coils. Yeah, it's the serpent that coils the world, and it's like
Jorgenmunder would actually be a good one.
So it's just Scandinavian Cobra. Shut up.
Scandinavian serpent group, that's for sure. But Zarelath, we're just kind of we're talking about.
Wait a minute. Does that mean the Cobra Commander is just Varg with the serial number file? He wishes.
Yikes. And this was something Jason brought up. Night Shift. Someone was using Night Shift to run a Scooby-Doo game. And I'm like, it's probably a lot more faithful to the source material than Velma was.
Oh, God, yes.
Yeah. I mean, there was a Scooby-Doo porn I just found out about that stayed more faithful to the source material than Velma did. I was like, geez.
No, that's the hilarious joke. I don't know if you're familiar with this particular rabbit hole, but porn parodies are often more accurate to source material than the big budget versions.
Oh, God. That's
multiple times. Oh, the Batman porn parodies are great. The X-Men porn parody is great.
Oh God, the porn was more faithful. That's like so disappointing to hear.
It really is, but it's also hilarious.
Like Jesus, it's like I can't remember. I think there was one that was circulating in the '90s, which I never saw, but I thought was hilarious. It was Intercourse with the Vampire.
Oh God. And yet still, probably more of faithful to the source material than the AMC series.
Oh no!
Have you not heard about this? Did you not hear about this?
I've heard of the AMC series. I had no interest in it.
Well, let's see. They moved it up to the early 20th century, so it's
of course they did.
It's interwar, pre-World War II, post-World War One. It is in the South, except Louis is a black guy. Yep,
I knew that.
Right, so he's no longer a slave-owning landholder.
Oh,
right, and the recontextualization is that Lestat is basically his abusive stalker turned lover turned stalker, right? And their Claudia is probably 19 if she's a day. She is way too old. It's not Interview with a Vampire. It's everything but Interview with a Vampire.
No, it's not. The whole point of Interview with the Vampire was Louis was telling his story. It wasn't just a title. And when I saw the trailers, I was just like, look, it looks like it's just a title for this. I'm not interested.
It's not just that it was Louis telling his story, but it was Louis telling his story, including the elements of how backward vampires are, right?
Yeah.
Because Louis is not even a planter. He's a wealthy landholder in Louisiana. Right? You know, he's not some Atlantan good old boy pulling cotton. He basically owns a breeding farm. It's awful.
Oh.
And when he travels to Europe and tries to pretend that he's not dead and hates it, what does he do? He eats a little girl because it's the only thing he can feel reasonably close to. And then they bring her back from the dead and raise her, and she goes crazy because it's a little girl, and that's why you don't make children into vampires.
Yeah.
Right? as much as I might dislike Anne Rice, especially after she quit the bottle and found Jesus, the fact of the matter is that at every step, the individual pieces of that story were well chosen for a reason.
Yeah, and like I said, I'm not interested. I don't care.
Yeah.
Let them do whatever they want.
Oh yeah.
This is what they do though. They wait for the original authors to die off, then they just start like ravaging their
Well,
property. It's terrible.
Well, I stand by, as far as AMC goes, that the problem boils down to one person, and everyone looks at me like I'm crazy, but it's because I can actually name the person. It's Gail Ann Hurd. Gail Ann Hurd is a giant tumor on creative industry that needs to go. Are you not familiar with this?
Yeah, I'm familiar with Gale Ann Hurd. I mean, at one point in time, it was like her and James Cameron come up with Terminator, which is awesome.
Right, but
Then
do you know why she's bad for comics, though?
no,
Okay, so her husband at the time, I don't know if they're still together, got the Predator, or not Predator, Punisher franchise. And she was producer for the Tom Jane Punisher movie, which isn't actually that bad. It's a origin story. It works, right? But because it did not do fantastically, right? I think that there's a great deal of resentment. So they got on the saddle. They were going to do another Punisher movie. This one with oh crap, the actor's name fell back of my head. Titus Pullo from Rome. They were doing Punisher Warzone, right? And Gail Ann Hurd was still the producer, and she used her producer rights both to Axe, an entire symphonic orchestra soundtrack, to implement a marketable metal soundtrack. And I mean, I like me some metal, but still. And to completely redux the ad campaign to make it edgier and more profitable, right? And Warzone, even if it wasn't a terrible movie, both wasn't a great movie and didn't do very well. Okay, well that's bad enough. Except then she went and she hooked up with AMC and was so obnoxious that Kirkman quit The Walking Dead after the first season. Not even the first season, I think it's the first 6 episodes. Right? And then she was the producer on American Gods, on Preacher. She's the producer on, you guessed it, Interview with a Vampire. This woman is bad. This woman uses her production rights to harm the properties that she is supposed to steward, whether because she thinks she's a creative and she has the right, or because she wants that money and doesn't care what it does to the property. Or Sour Grapes. Those nerds didn't like my husband's movie, so those nerds are going to pay for it forever.
well, I think the real problem here is, and this goes for WotC, this goes for Hasbro, this goes for just about any company these days. We like to think that they're stewards. They're not. They're a money making. Once you get so big, you become a money making colossus, and that's really all it's about after a while. So the very thing to remember is these people are not stewards, and I'm gonna go back to this point and close it out on this. There are people out there who are going to tell you, and I think we know who I'm talking about because we talked about that person earlier, that are going to say and have said things like, you sound a little ungrateful. What about the things that you owe Hasbro? You don't owe Hasbro. You don't own WotC. You don't owe any one of these companies anything. Brand loyalty is earned. And once betrayed, especially to this magnitude, you can absolutely forget some people coming back. They've damaged this thing so badly that what they're doing now, they're saying they're listening. I say again, I'll believe it when I see it. You do not need anyone's express permission, consent, or approval. In fact, if you're considering going back once you see what you want to see there, and you're certain and you're confident that they've done the right thing, I would say, personally, I would personally love to bury the hatchet myself. I really would, because it would mean I could go back to talking about something other than this, because we've been hammering this for about anywhere from 2 to 3 weeks to a month, and now we're starting to get some progress. Here's where I want to just absolutely end it. If you think I'm just one person, what the fuck can I do? It's very simple. It's what you did in the last 2 weeks. You kept it up. Let me tell you something. They were listening in part, and this is what got them to where they are. They were listening in part to this little tiny group of very loud people. Now they had to deal with a tidal wave of them. We outnumber those people. We outnumber them. We've shown that, and I agree. I have bland loyalty, yeah. But whatever the case is, you have to remember, if you ever doubt that we can affect change, doubt no more. That's it. In the meantime, guys, we're going to go ahead and cut out of here. I've got some stuff to do. I'm already running behind on it. Just remember, guys, we love you all. Take care of yourselves and each other. Always play what lights you up, and as always, play on.